Okay. I think we're back, and I think we can give a stop to this. Just bear with us. Our special guest, TJ, is hanging on the line. I don't know where he is, but somewhere in North America, I'm presuming. Hang in there, TJ. Let me let listeners know a little bit about our guest. He is a Haitian-born stand-up comedian who is currently based in New York City. TJ has a very laid-back, smooth, conversational style. He jokes about race, society's idiosyncrasies, and the inherent contrast between life in Haiti and America. And he's made appearances on Gotham Comedy and Good Day New York on Fox. But listen, he's also going to be joining us here on Salish territories on February the 1st. So thank you so much, TJ, for taking this time out of your life and joining us.
Thank you very much for having me. It's a pleasure. I'm happy to be talking to you, and I'm happy to be getting in touch with the local Vancouver scene. I'm excited to be coming here for the first time.
Really? Have you been out to Seattle and places like that?
I have been to Seattle, but I did not get a chance to make it to Vancouver yet. So this is going to be my first time this Saturday, February 1st, at the Rio Theater, and I'm excited because there's something about performing in a city for the first time because it gives you such a better understanding of the city based on what the people laugh at versus what they don't laugh at, what they find funny, how they react to jokes. That's like comedy is a really good test for sociological understanding.
Yeah, right. And it takes folks like you to be able to craft this out and make it into something that's interesting for folks like us. So listeners, I'm interested because you mix in social justice and racism in your comedy. I was going to say you mix your politics with your politics, but that's where I found you on the internet. Somehow you came onto the stream, and I found a very small little short clip.
Perfect.
And I went further just today, if listeners are interested. It's titled Weapons of White Destruction, TJ Stand-Up Comedy on the YouTube, to get a sense of a little bit of where you're going from. But let listeners know your route into comedy, coming from Haiti. You must have had a lot of opportunities in Haiti to be a doctor or a lawyer or an engineer or something like that. I hope you found that funny. I don't know. But, first of all, sorry, I don't want to take up too much airtime, but let me just say one thing to you, just to give you a bit of context. For me, I don't need to know, Haiti is not in Africa. I found that really funny. I found another one of your sketches around that, right? But I'll tell you for what happened with me was I came from East Africa, from Tanzania. I was born there.
From Tanzania.
I am. Great. And my heritage, my grandparents are from India. So they emigrated from India to Tanzania way back when. And then, I was born there before I came here to Canada. So I grew up for the formative, my childhood was in Tanzania, all surrounded with black people mostly. A few whites and mostly black people.
And you look, I'm assuming, ethnically Indian.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, I look South Asian. And so when I came here at a young age, and then I started going elementary school, of course, everything was flipped over, right? I mean, it was all white people, and there was no black people out here on the East Coast, West Coast, where I'm talking from. We didn't have a lot of black people in Vancouver at the time that I came. It's different now, for sure. But at the time that I came, unlike Toronto, that has a lot of Jamaicans and things like that. So
yeah, Toronto is extremely international. That's also one of the reasons I wanted to come and check out Vancouver. I have a friend who just moved there recently, so I've been getting little snippets of how the city is. But I've performed in Toronto before, and Toronto kind of feels like a little bit of a New York style in terms of the diversity, the amount of people you encounter just walking the streets.
Yeah, you will totally find that in Toronto. The thing is that in Vancouver, so as a kid, for the first couple of years, I didn't see any black people at all. And one day I was walking up to school, and there I was in front of me, a black man, and he was like a few blocks up the road, and he was walking in the same direction as I was, and I was running up to go to school, and I started chasing him down, and I started yelling, Jambo, Jambo, Hibari Gani. That's in Swahili.
What does that mean?
That's in Swahili. That's like, hey, how are you? Hello, how are you?
Right.
And he ignored me, and I ran up and I started yelling. Finally, he turned around and he saw this little kid running up to him. And I said, hey, Jambo, and he didn't know Swahili. And I said, where, I'm from Africa, where are you from? And he said, Jamaica. And I said, oh, okay. And then I went to school and I looked on the world map. I was looking for Jamaica in Africa. I thought, how is there a country in Africa I missed?
There you go. That's where your education started.
It did.
Essentially, my trip was speaking to you.
I just wanted to share that with you because that was my first experience in the city. Of course, it's changed. We're very multicultural. We're not like Toronto in the kinds of diversity we have. Like Toronto is like New York that has everybody from everywhere. And you'll find huge communities in Toronto represented. Whereas here, we have mostly communities from Latin America. We have communities from Asia, and we have Chinese and from Hong Kong and Taiwanese. And we have a lot of Philippines. We have a lot of communities I'm missing out. But just to say that, welcome to the city. I look forward to this. Let listeners know a little bit about how your journey went from being born in Haiti to ending up in New York City, and then how did comedy come in the way, and how did you negotiate all that?
All right, if you have 3 hours, let's do it. So it's a long story. But I was born and raised in Haiti. I spent most of my life there. After high school, my parents are very big on education, so they wanted me to come to the U.S. and get a better education so I could, improve my chances of success in life. So I came here for higher learning. I went to school in Long Island, New York, and at the time, that was 2008. That's when I got to America. That was my first time coming to America, 2008. And unfortunately, 2 years later, in 2010, there was a massive earthquake that rocked the capital of Haiti and killed a lot of people and caused a lot of destruction.
Yes.
So that was a turning point for me in my life and my journey, where it felt to me like just being in college and trying to live normal wasn't a path for me anymore, because everything had become very abnormal. So I wanted to chase a dream instead of pretending that I can just stay on that straight path. And the dream for me was stand-up comedy, which is not a childhood dream. It's a dream. It's essentially an adulthood dream. It's a dream that was born in America. When I came to this country, I was trying to improve my English. And I started just watching as much American TV as I could. And for some reason, I was fixated on Comedy Central. That was the comedy network that would put on comedians all the time. And Jon Stewart was somebody I watched religiously every Monday at 11 p.m. And there's a lot of other heroes. I discovered Richard Pryor. I discovered George Carlin. Those were the people that I kept watching, and I thought, you know what? This is what feels normal to me. This is what feels like the right artistic path. So I developed the courage to admit to myself that I wanted to do this thing, and then once I had worked around and just had enough of savings from like odd jobs that I had, I decided, you know what, this is it. I gotta go and give this a shot and see what happens. And that's how I started performing.
And where were you located at that time? Where were you living around?
I was in New York City.
Right away. Okay. Yeah.
Yeah, I traveled around. I had different jobs in different parts of the country, but I knew to become a comedian, New York City was the best place
it's the place that you were at anyway. So I get it. I was just curious
this
around.
This is what I'm gonna do. So I moved back to New York and then just started doing it there.
And how did the Haitian community there respond to your comedy, for example?
Initially, almost there was no response, just because stand-up comedy as an art form isn't particularly something Haitians are seeking out.
Right.
Haitian culture is heavily music influenced.
Right.
If I did music, then I would definitely become embraced by the community for sure. But so at first they were just not sure what this is. And the thing is, I was doing it in English. So a lot of the community that may be very new to America, I may not be looking for English speaking stuff. A lot of the Haitians that come early on, they keep their ties to their communities. They often listen to a lot of Haitian radio, Haitian music in Creole. So I wasn't on their radar until, after a while I started to get some traction, and then things were moving in the right direction. And I was never shy about the fact that I'm Haitian. So I think it got to some people, and eventually, now I would say I have a decent amount of support and following in the Haitian community, which I'm very happy about. But I do stand-up comedy for anybody who has a sense of humor. And
that's right. No, I know. I was also. Yeah. Yeah, sorry to cut you off there. No, of course. I mean, comedy is by its nature, those that craft it like you want it to cut across communities and are not focused in on any particular one. Just being a Haitian and being a comic, as well as playing that up in some of the skits that I saw, I needed to ask, sort of how you negotiate that with your own community. I think that the things that you...
It's an interesting negotiation, for sure. It's an interesting negotiation.
Yeah. So what else? I mean, why did you decide that you wanted to play race and politics up front in your comedy? I mean, you dropped George Carlin and Richard Pryor, who were doing that kind of stuff. I think your comedy is great, by the way, the little of it that I saw.
Much. Yeah. I appreciate that.
Yeah. How did you settle in on race and sort of social issues and justice?
Well, that's what's interesting about that. I don't know that I made a choice, really. It's often, when you choose to go down a creative path, like that's just your outlet to communicate whatever comes through you, and it just seems like those are subjects that I'm naturally interested in. So I just follow wherever the muse guides me, whatever it is. I'm a big fan, for instance, of Jerry Seinfeld, but I'm not compelled to talk about the exact same stuff that he talks about. So you can only be whatever it is inside of you that you have to offer. And it seems to me that I'm naturally attracted to those things. Like you said, George Carlin and Richard Pryor, those were the people that would talk about those things. And then I saw them and I thought, there's somewhat of a hunger there. There's a desire to talk about that. So I don't question it. I just follow wherever it leads me.
It must be such a thrill, like you said, coming to the first time in the city and seeing how the audiences, are. It's such a thrill standing up and doing performance in audiences where you get a chance to read the audience. In New York City, and elsewhere, where you are doing your comedy, you might be getting a chance to see and read the same people maybe coming. I mean, I guess where I'm asking is, do you get a chance to see people evolving more than just in the one time itself? Like, do you get repeated people or even comments on social media, and you see people just maybe didn't like it, but then are seeing are seeing the humor in it, or are able to see themselves in it, maybe even?
There's definitely some of that. The thing that is very beautiful about stand-up comedy is it's immediate, because you're communicating to those people in that room at that moment. So whatever you trying to get across to them, if they get it, then they get it, and they let you know almost immediately. And if they don't, they don't. You don't feel the connection, you don't feel the laughter. But what is interesting is, I've been doing it since 2012. What you can notice as you do it for a while and you go through the shifts, the cultural periods, you get to see how the world changes and how comedy will change with it. What becomes a little bit more sensitive to talk about, what becomes a little bit more difficult to talk about. Because, I've lived through Obama, and then now I've lived through the first Trump, and I've lived through Joe Biden, and then now it's about to be the second Trump. So having to go through all of that, you get a sense of where people are and how you get to navigate that as a comedian. It's a fun thing to do, and it's a difficult job to do, but it's a beautiful thing to do, because you get to be... People trust you because you have a microphone in your hands, and you get to say things that they can laugh at and hear and connect with and process in a way that is pretty unique to the art form. So,
absolutely, this is why I appreciate the kinds of comedy that you're doing and the other folks that we mentioned, because of it gives people a chance to process stuff that's out there in a in a way that's not so affronting them. They get to laugh through it and experience it, and it's through the body also, isn't it? I mean, laughter it comes through the body in a sense, so it's not so in the head all the time.
Yeah. I mean, whatever you can laugh at cannot hurt you anymore. Is often how I look at it. If there's something that's painful and then you manage to laugh at it, it becomes slightly less painful, and that's sort of the beauty of comedy. Is just the nature of it is that it's a coping mechanism with just the difficulties and absurdities of life. And I'm very lucky that I get to do this as a job.
We're living in really crazy times, huh? It's so much material for you now that you've got Trump 2.0, I guess they call it, or the next guy. And he's got along some sidekicks this time too. So. Different ones.
There's a lot going on, and I mean, also as an immigrant, there's a lot going on with all those executive orders, those threatening different immigrant communities. So there's a lot of stuff to figure out, and some people are very scared, and understandably so. There's a lot going on, and people are trying to figure out what it means for them, what it means for their communities. And as a performer, I'm navigating it with all of those people as well, because I have families and friends that also may be afraid of those things. Yeah. Where
is the Haitian? Sorry, just to cycle back to Haiti. Where's the Haitian community in the United States? Do you think, where is it centered around in terms of just like we would say Toronto, right, for example, or Montreal, maybe out here?
In the United States, it's primarily South Florida. So the largest Haitian community is no doubt in Miami and Fort Lauderdale and all those surrounding areas. It's a huge Haitian population there. And from that, I would say New York. New York would be number 2. There's a lot of Haitians in New York, and there's a good amount of Haitians in Boston and New Jersey as well. So those would be the main areas where there's a lot of Haitian diaspora. And in your own country, in Montreal, there's also a very solid Haitian population because of the connection with the French language.
With the French, absolutely. Well. Yeah, that's right. Montreal would be the center here in Canada.
Yeah, Montreal is great.
Yeah, we've covered sort of when the different coups were happening and Canada was involved in it and so on. We were covering that. Haiti is a fantastic place. I would love to ask you to give us some more perspectives of it. I mean, do you ever get a chance to go there? Are you connected with the country?
Oh, I used to go every 2 years because, remember I left in 2008 and I would go every 2 years until about the last time I was there was 2019 when it became a little bit too difficult and too unsafe to go just because of political violence and turmoil. I mean, Haiti is a beautiful place marred by a lot of ugly things, unfortunately. That's really what we have to deal with.
Yeah, it's really, for me, I always think of Haiti as such a symbolic thing that you have to consistently crush, Yeah. What I mean?
Explain further. Tell me what you mean.
Like for me, it's like when I think of Haiti, I think of its resurgence in taking back your humanity, right? In overthrowing your oppression back in the day.
Yeah,
and,
absolutely.
Right? And then, by virtue, then creating a symbol for others to join along and do the same.
Yeah,
and
I mean, that's sort of
you have to symbolically crush it, because if you're the empire, then you can never have that be the example, And so I feel so bad for Haiti.
Yeah, we've suffered a lot. We have suffered a lot. A lot of it has to do with us dreaming too big, and it was just not the right place to be dreaming this big, because there's a little fact of history that I learned, actually. I did not know this when I was growing up in Haiti. I learned it when I came here to the college in the U.S. After the Haitian Revolution defeated the Napoleon armies. Napoleon, he just couldn't handle it. It was too much of a loss. So Thomas Jefferson, who at the time was president of the United States, was very uncomfortable with the idea of a small notion of black people being free and having their own country. He offered to Napoleon to give them help and soldiers and ammunition so he could retake Haiti because it was too much of an affront for the U.S. because it's too close. And Napoleon said, it's not worth it because I've lost too much. And that little story right there is just it encompasses so much of the history of the Western world and the oppressor and oppressed type of situation you can have at a time, whereas it's like we have to keep this place down, otherwise it's not a good look for me and what I'm trying to do in my country. And then also you have an example of Haitian bravery, where they fought so hard that they made easily one of the most powerful general and powerful armies in the world kind of back down. So
exactly. It's going to be awesome when empire cracks. It's cracking. We can all see it. And it's great. Like, I just wanted to cycle back to how you are discussing ways in which the empire is cracking through your jokes. You're letting people see the absurdity of the systems that we've all kind of bought into in some extent.
Yeah. I mean, if a joke can do anything, it should help you see the world in a way that you didn't think before, because that's all the performer can offer, which is a different perspective, a way to see things that the viewer may not have been aware of, and that's the gift of it. That's why people would pay money to go see somebody, because you can offer something that they don't see. So as a performer, you have a responsibility to work hard at doing that, because you can't just go up there and say everyday things and say whatever, say things that people hear all the time, that it's not that interesting. So I think there's a responsibility that you have to synthesize and process the world and do the homework and be sensitive to all of it so you can explain it and reflect it back to people.
Absolutely. TJ, how did this thing with the Rio come together? What happened there?
Well, when I was putting my early dates for the tour together, I knew I was going to do the Pacific Northwest. I was going to do Oregon. I was going to do Washington. So I'm doing Seattle, Bellingham, and a couple of other towns there. And I thought, well, this is the first big tour of this magnitude that I'm doing, so I have to add Vancouver, because I've always wanted to come to Vancouver, and I have at least 4 different friends who've been there who tell me they love it.
Oh, nice.
So I thought I gotta do something in Vancouver, and I reached out to a couple of venues, and I found the Rio, and they were very cool, very easy to work with, very understanding. The booker there, Rachel, she's a lovely lady. She's great, and she has some roots in New York, so we connected over that, and I'm very excited to make it happen, and it's going to be on February 1st, which is the first day of Black History Month. So I'm excited to have one of the first Black History Month shows for that month in Vancouver. I cannot wait.
That is fantastic. I hope that you've connected with the communities that we have here, the Black communities that we have here as well. So folks come out. But what you said is that this comedy is really for everybody. It's again, I don't want to just narrow it down to particular people.
Absolutely.
But it's good to have community out. Is also what I mean.
Yes, it's good to have both. You want both. You want to have specific communities, and you want to have the universal human experience.
Yeah, and for folks out here in Vancouver who want to have a chance to just lay back and be engaged with some really intelligent comedy, I urge you to kind of check it out. Just go to the Rio website and get more information, and check out Weapons of White Destruction, stand-up comedy, TJ stand-up comedy on the YouTube. You can get a sampling of your work. TJ, we're going to have to leave it at this time here. We look forward to maybe catching up with you later down the road after your tour. Maybe we can talk about if you found any differences in the East and West Coast.
Absolutely. Thank you very much. And I hope to see a lot of people, whoever's listening. I hope you guys can come out this Saturday. Tickets are available on the Rio website. And on my social media, you can find those tickets as well. So I'm at TJ Stand Up on Instagram and Twitter and all that jazz. So please find me, get some tickets. It's going to be a great time. I can't wait to see you guys.
Awesome. Catch in with you later then. You have a good evening.
All right. Thank you very much.
Okay. Bye-bye. Hey, I hate to cut off that earlier song. That was from the previous program. That was such a beautiful, beautiful song. Thank you to, it was probably Sister Aisha, or it could have been Main and Hastings, who knows. East Side Stories or Main and Hastings usually is before this program, Bulan Awaz, today. And at 7 o'clock, there's going to be other programming that continues on here at CFRO Vancouver's Co-op Radio 100.5 FM. Today on the program, we will be speaking with Sama Ghanem. She is a co-founder of Parents for Palestine. And then we will also be speaking with the UBC divestment and student encampment representatives around what they've been doing at UBC. We will also be checking in with Nisha Toomey, who wrote an article titled "I Am One of the Indigo 11, and Here's Why I Did It." That was published on the Maple recently. We will also check in with local friends Nathan Compton and Andrea Milichuk from the Mainlander. They wrote an article around the Vancouver Public Library, which has implemented a branch-wide ban on their staff wearing items that purport to support Palestinian people. Isn't it funny? But before that, we will be checking in with Tanael Joachim. I think I said it right. He goes by TJ. He also goes by Thomas Jefferson. He's a Haitian-born stand-up comedian and currently based in New York City, and will be visiting us here on Salish and performing at the Rio Theatre on February the 1st. So stay tuned for all of that programming, which is coming up momentarily. And we're just going to set all of that up and get to it as soon as we can. Yeah, and maybe we can do it this way. We'll break right into him while we wait for him.
And become a scientist, obsessed with peanuts.
I'm really sorry we have the static again. Bear with us. We'll be right back.